What's up, guys? Welcome back to DCA. So I was thinking to myself, what do the people want? And we all know they want an altcoin video. So I decided, well, the people aren't going to get what they want. They're going to get what they need. And that's another market analysis breakdown. Because of the fact that in yesterday's video, we took a look at the Polarity Digital forecast model, which indicated to us that it still looks like the market, especially for Bitcoin, has time left to go. In addition to that, we took a look at the DCA acceleration model, which was telling us that it still looks like the market is picking up steam. We never want to rely on just a few pieces of information or models in this case. So today I want to give you an alternative, perhaps an alternative perspective anyway, that could be suggesting to us that this market is overheated. Maybe we are potentially near some type of a market top. We never want to take a look at the data, buy into one single piece of information and say, hey, this is the end all be all. It can't end up any other way. How many people got destroyed in 2021 with that line of thinking that the market was going back up to 100K because, you have so many creators in this space that basically come out and say one thing and it has to be this way and nothing else can happen. And so, so many people were deterministic about the fact that we were going to 100K. I don't expect everyone to become a crypto analyst, right? If you're at home, the reason you're watching these channels is because you're trying to extract quality information. I do get that a lot of people are trying to extract self-confirming information, but that's not what we're doing here. I don't really care what you want to happen. No one does. The market certainly doesn't. So why would that be the type of information you seek? In our prior video, we talked about a few models that were showing us the market has a lot of upside left. Today, we're going to look at a different perspective because I don't only want to give you data from what our models are telling us. I also want to provide other sources of information that may not necessarily directly line up with what the models say. With that said, we are going to take a look at a measurement of profit and loss in this market, right? And so what do I mean by that? So we are looking at here in blue, this is the market cap of Bitcoin, all right? So you can see that we're north of $1 trillion right now. In fact, we are sitting right at around 1.36 trillion at the moment. Now in yellow, what are we looking at? This is actually the realized profit, okay, on any given day. So it's going to be the network realized profit or loss. So what this is telling us is a very good approximation of how many dollars in terms of total profit on the network are being converted on any single day. So you can see that obviously this metric spikes up during bull markets. You see more of an oscillation in bear markets, but in general, during bull markets, we see a spike, and during bear markets, we definitely see a bottoming out. So you'll notice that there are a little spike here back in 2013, a spike in 2017, then in 2019, then again in late 2020 into 2021, right? And then this kind of declines, and we're seeing another one right now. So what we're going to do is take a look at this with a slightly different perspective. A market doesn't come to an end because of a single point in time. Just because there's one big selling event, one big sell day, right? That doesn't spell a market end, okay? Now, if it's severe enough, it can kind of create the topping point, sure. But these events don't happen in isolation, so they happen over time. So what we're going to do is look at the 60-day network profit or loss. So this is giving us an idea of the accumulation of wealth from a particular asset, in this case, Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin? Why not some random altcoin? And that's because of the fact that Bitcoin drives the market. At the end of the day, whenever I make a market analysis video, I come talk about this in the Discord sometimes. Only subscribers watch. Almost zero individuals who are not subscribed to the channel already watch the videos. And, I think if you guys have been watching my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that, analyzing Bitcoin is giving you the best perspective on where the market's going. Looking at altcoins and what they're doing, there's way too much noise. There's way too much noise to extract any degree of signal. So that's why we look at Bitcoin when we want to analyze the actual market, the broader market, because Bitcoin ultimately at a $1.36 trillion market cap just dwarfs the rest of the market. There's nothing else even close. Not even Ethereum is that close to it. That's why we look at Bitcoin, because it is going to push this market in one direction or the other. Bitcoin's probably going to, once you start seeing a big sell off from Bitcoin, you may see that capital flowing into other assets, but ultimately, that's going to be short lived. It might last for a week, it might last for a couple weeks, even a month, but that will ultimately spell the end of a particular market cycle within a very short order. So here we have the 60-day total network realized profit and loss. So what this is showing us is kind of the peak level at which the 60-day profit and loss gets to as the market reaches a top. All right. And so what we're looking at here, where we can see right away that in 2018, total profit and loss was around 46 billion. Back here in 2021, it was around 100 billion. So, like we said, around 47, 48 billion, around 100 billion. And right now we are sitting at around 78 billion. What does that tell us exactly? Or what can we derive from that? What can we take away from that information? What do we know about, how much profit is being extracted from the network? Well, it's going to be ultimately related to the market cap, right? Because the market cap is going to determine how much profit or loss we can extract from this network over time. So let's take a look at this in a different way then. What we're going to do is divide the total 60-day profit or loss by the market cap. Because if we had a market cap of, let's just make up a number, $100 trillion, we would expect the profit or loss from that $100 trillion asset to be much, much, much higher than we would be from an asset that only had a market cap of $100 million, right? Because the maximum profit, if you were able to sell the entire network at its price, the maximum profit you could obtain from a $100 million asset is $100 million. Whereas with a, $100 trillion asset, then obviously, it stands to reason 100 trillion would be the maximum profit. And that would never happen, obviously, because as selling started to occur, the market cap would begin to decline. But we're talking about theoretical maximums here. So it shows you why we would expect a network with a much higher market cap to be able to extract more value. Okay. So let's look at it like this. So if we divide the total value extracted over 60 days from the market cap, well, now we can see something going on here. And the first thing you notice is with each market cycle, so this is back here in 2013, this is 2018, this is 2021, and now this is where we're at the moment. The market is becoming more efficient. In other words, it's becoming more difficult to extract capital from the network. And so, I always kind of think it's funny that everyone's so excited about all these institutions coming in, all of the, the ETFs coming in. Well, they're just making the game harder to play, because now you're not just playing against other retailers, you're playing against pros now. Okay, so what you're seeing over time is increased efficiency in capital, and therefore an increased difficulty in extracting that capital from the Bitcoin network. And so you can see that in each cycle, percentage of profits extracted from the network over time, it's diminishing. It's diminishing not only in peak, but it's also diminishing in total volume, right? So if you just looked at the area under these curves, it's essentially diminishing from each cycle to the next, in relative terms to the market cap, not in absolute terms. Okay, so what we're seeing here is that, there is a large degree of profit being taken right now. And so that's suggesting to us that, the market cycle cannot continue on like this forever, right? Sitting at around an average over the last 60 days of around $80 billion taken in realized profit, that's not a small amount. So we have to be thinking about the fact that, based on this trend, this kind of suggests to us that we're probably not at the peak, but it might not be that far ahead of us down the road. The market cycle is developing like we would expect. We are in a bull market. I think we can stop saying, are we in a bull market? Definitively, we're in a bull market. That has happened. So, what we're analyzing here is how long it can last. Like I've said many times, ultimately, a lot of it comes down to the stock market. So, if that continues to hold up, I think Bitcoin can continue to run. But, we can't ignore the fact that we've been seeing a significant amount of profit taking. And profit taking ultimately is what will make the market turn over. So I know a lot of people feel like the altcoin market has kind of already made a big move, but realistically, it's still sitting. If we just take a measurement of this, we're still sitting around 35% below the prior all-time high. So we're not even close to that all-time high that we hit in the last cycle. And, you have to remember that these tops came after Bitcoin hit that peak and then it had a big sell off because a lot of those profits are going to move towards the altcoins. Additionally, uh, you know, there aren't a lot of new people coming into crypto right now. And that's a lot of times why you would see those profits moving from Bitcoin quickly into other altcoins. So I think there's a lot of unique facets of this market cycle. Um, it also kind of indicates to me that there's a strong potential that we're sitting in something somewhat similar to 2019, where we could see this market correct and then go on a much bigger run because it just feels like not a lot of new people are coming into the market. There aren't a lot of new participants. And that simply might be for the fact that, the events that happened right here back in the middle of 2022 and the end of 2022, namely UST, Three Arrows Capital, FTX, those events are still fresh on people's minds, right? Sam Bankman-Fried was just in the news not too many months ago, right? Just at the end of the year, beginning of the year. So that kind of stuff is still fresh in people's minds. So, a lot of things are telling us that this market still has a long way to go. Metrics like this saying that, if we look at our peak here, and our peak here, well, we haven't even got close to the 60-day returns that we saw back in 2021. But then other things, like if we look at it in terms of capital efficiency or extraction per market cap dollar, right? We are expecting that to continue a downtrend. So how much higher do we have to go before we kind of hit that peak of the downtrend? And a lot of that is going to be up in the air. So you'll notice that the things that we're talking about here, sure, they're data based, they're number based, but a lot of it then becomes subjective. And we're trying to subjectively define what's happening in this market. We're trying to subjectively define, what's a reasonable level for this to get to? What's a reasonable level for average 60-day profit on the network? And so we're being very subjective. So in a sense, we're being objective in that we're looking at the data. We're saying that definitively, this we would expect to continue to increase as the market cap value rises. But we also say that, hey, capital efficiency is increasing. What's a reasonable level for us to reach? And we simply don't know. So that's why I continue to use the models, right? And no model's perfect. So, just because our models say that, hey, this looks like this, doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's happening. So I'm always going to put my faith into the numbers and into the data rather than opinions. This is something to continue to watch. So if we saw this start to shoot up, these 60-day cumulative profits on the Bitcoin network, that would be a much stronger indication that we very likely were reaching a top, right? But where we're sitting at now, everything that I can see does suggest that there's time to go. We haven't reached the type of exuberant profit taking over time that we normally see at the end of a cycle, at least if we are to believe that this trend will continue. So A, yes, there's profit taking. B, we expect there to be profit taking because we've seen that in every single prior cycle. You'll notice that this metric really starts to kick off right as we get to that all-time high. If we take it all together, it looks like this market is not at the top and we still have room to run from here. So with that said, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Until next time, as usual, See you.